So everybody, we're here with Stephen B. Shaffer. He is author of many, many books. What do you like being called?
Just Steve's fine.
Steve, just fine?
Yeah, that's fine.
Don't some people also call you Doc?
Oh yeah, yeah, they do, and so I answer to both.
Okay. What's the reason for the Doc, if you don't mind explaining that?
I'm the doctor of love. basically, some friends of mine, because you know, I had a lot of information about a few things, and so they acted like I was a doctor of knowledge.
Cool.
And so they started calling me Doc, and
nice.
It kind of took hold, and people call me Doc or Steve, either one. I'll go by either.
So Steve, the reason why we got you here today is I wanted to talk about, I heard that you got this new book coming out, and I know I was pretty excited to hear what it was going to be about and all the different, you know, all the different chapters that are in this book that has to do with Utah, and I was hoping that we can just, you know, speak with you for a few minutes and just get an idea of what the book is going to be about and who Steve Shaffer is.
I wrote the book about every county in the state of Utah, and I didn't give a lot of information on each county, but I gave important information. It's called Utah Treasures, and it talks about the outlaw loot.
Oh, you know what?
You have a copy.
I have a copy.
Right. So
yeah. There you go.
And it's this is the first one off the press. And
cool. Very cool.
And it's a short book, but it's still full of great information.
Well, it looks like, I mean, right here it says outlaw loot. I mean, and then you also got pictures of Spanish stuff on here. It looks like to me it's kind of a mixture of
It kind of is. I wanted to write a lot longer version of it.
Yeah.
But because of costs for the publisher and the actual distribution, we made it a little smaller so people could afford it and go out and have a good time with it. And it's not the type of book you want to put on your shelf. It's one that you can take out in the field with you. And so we think it'll go well, and I think people really enjoy it.
I think so. He has written how many books now, Steve?
This is number 7.
Number 7. Wow, seven books. And you know, that's how I got to know Steve many, many years ago. Is I picked up one of his books, I read it, and I guess you could say it changed my life, Steve. You know, I really like the way you write things. I like the way that you find credibility and things like that. And that's the reason why we wanted to bring you in here. So, and that way we can just talk about it. So, Steve, in this new book, I'm sure everybody else who's read your books, now that you're throwing in a little bit of outlaw loot and stuff like that, what's something that you can tell us about this book that might be a little bit different from one of your other books?
Well, you said it, outlaw loot.
Yeah.
Because most of my books surround ancient America.
Yeah.
Spanish gold. Spanish symbols, Indian petroglyphs, and how to interpret them.
Yeah.
And I wrote one historical novel, which is the hardest book I ever wrote in my life.
Oh, yeah, I bet.
Because fiction mixed with actual historic events is hard to write.
Yeah.
I commend people that do that.
Yeah.
But this one, my first intent with this book was to give mostly Spanish information about Spanish in Utah. My wife said, "You've done that already."
Yeah.
And I thought, well, I have. So I changed it up a little bit.
Yeah.
And I sent it to my publisher, and they leaned more towards the outlaw part of it. So I had to restructure it a little bit because that's where everybody's going right now.
Yeah.
And so that's why I went more to the outlaw loot, which is kind of out of my realm. But it was education for me because I started on another path.
Yeah.
And it was very exciting because doing the research about different outlaws, and I could have filled a couple volumes of what I found.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And it had been way pricey.
Yeah.
But so I'd done this, and it was strikingly different.
Yeah.
And very appealing to a large audience. My publisher wrote me back and said, "This is great. This is what people are looking for."
Yeah.
And a book's a great book, and I thought, wow, that's cool.
I agree. You know, I was just reading the words right here: outlaw loot in every county. I mean, that seemed really cool to me. You know what that tells me right there, Steve? That anybody that lives in Utah can go and buy this book, and they can look up different counties that either they live in or ones that they're close by. And from what it sounds like to me, is that they're going to find, you put something in here that they can find, some kind of mystery, some kind of treasure, some kind of outlaw loot, possibly Spanish, whatever it is. You gave everybody, I guess you can say, Easter egg hunt or something.
Yeah, a little bit for everybody, and like some counties are pretty void of a lot of good outlaw information. But I mention them anyway. Give a little bit of history.
Right.
Also give a history of each county and how they got to be who they are.
Yeah.
And I leave it to the reader to figure out what I'm actually talking about.
Yeah.
And they can come to their own conclusions and go after what they want to go after, or better yet, take the family out and have just a good time.
I want to go back to that real quick, Steve. That is, to me, a very, the word I'm trying to use, I think that's very important, what you just said right there, in the way that you give the information, and you can stop me if I'm wrong, but you give enough information to where they can go out and look at it, but you leave it open in the way it gives them that treasure hunt. Is that correct?
That's right.
You're creating that adventure for them, and that's what we're all about. Find your adventure and stuff like that. Yeah. And that's what you're doing here too. You're setting people up to go do. I mean, this is something they could probably take their kids on a Saturday if they want to. They can go out with their friends. It just depends on you of how in depth you want to get. I can tell you right now that Steve's books have plenty enough information. Doesn't matter if you're a beginner treasure hunter or if you're advanced or if you just want to go out to the outdoors and go look for history. But I think that excites me. I want to go home and read this from what you're telling me. This excites me.
And it's written in such a way that anybody can pick it up and read it.
Yeah.
It's not filled with words that people don't understand. And
right.
They have to use a dictionary. Like some of the books I've written are you kind of. There's big words,
Yeah.
But this is for the layman. Yeah. This is for the weekend prospector type, or the treasure hunter type, to grab his ATV and his wife and his kids and go have a good time.
Yeah, I think so too. You that's what you did. You just brought adventure to their life, and I like what you said. It is a really good size. I mean, you can just take this thing just right into the backpack if you wanted to.
Yes, made to get written into. You can write in it. You can. Put notes on it. It's one of those type of books. It's a workbook. It's kind of and so it's not something that you want to preserve on the shelf.
Yeah, I agree.
So
I agree. Yeah. Well, that's what I did with the book the first book of yours that I read was Of Men and Gold, and it was a bigger book, but it was still a perfect size that I was always able to put in my backpack. And I remember going out, oh, this is the area that I read about from Steve Shaffer's book, and I would open it up and go, okay, yeah, I'm right here, and ooh, here's a symbol, in the back. You used to, in a lot of your other books, you have your symbols and explain what they are, and they're just great books, you guys. He writes great books.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah. I'm a big fan, Steve.
I've been doing the research and stuff for many years.
Yeah.
And
how long have you been researching what you say?
Well, let me start from the beginning. In the very beginning, when I really started getting interested in this stuff, is when me and a little friend named Kiki Wyaskett was fishing on the White Rocks River.
Oh yeah.
In northeastern Utah, and we noticed a glint of like gold or bronze or something up on the hillside.
Wow.
And I went and investigated and found it was a barrel of a cannon.
Wow.
And so we started excavating it, and we found that there was armor in there and a lot of arrowheads and stuff, and so we didn't know what to do. We were young,
right?
So we contacted a friend of the family's, and he said, "Oh, we'll get the University of Utah up there, and we'll excavate it, and we'll give you guys your credit." Well, being a young guy, okay.
Yeah, it seems right.
Well, they got the cannon and armor, and there was no gold or nothing in there, but they got everything out, and I never heard anything. Well, by the time I was about to go into the military,
which is about what? About how?
Well, I was almost 19. I was 18.
Okay.
Well, I forgot all about it because I had things going.
Yeah.
Well, when I got out of the military and came home from Vietnam, I tried to contact the guy, and I couldn't find him. I asked my parents where this guy went, and they said, we haven't seen him for years. And so I still had the name of the other two guys that he brought in that claimed to be archaeologists from University of Utah. Oh. So I contacted University of Utah, and they had no knowledge of those people. Never did.
Oh, no.
So I lost all that.
Yeah.
Of course, in those days, nobody packed a camera around.
Yeah.
You know, so
but they were probably what, this big? No.
Yeah, they've done them on wood carvings. So that's what sparked me about. Got my juices flowing because I knew there was Spanish in Utah.
Yeah,
and the youths used to talk about it all the time when I was living, out in Roosevelt and Neola. They talk about those things and take me and show me Spanish symbols and tell me what they meant. So I started at a pretty young age.
Well, sorry, I got to stop you right there. So you're telling me that the Ute Indians have taught you what certain symbols from the Spanish mean?
They did, and another one that helped. There was other men that came along to help me.
Wow.
They weren't Ute.
Yeah.
But I started to study these symbols, and when I got back out of the war, then I started following these symbols out. I'd take the meanings that they give me, and I'd follow them out. And I was surprised to find that what they told me was true.
Oh.
And so I started, when I became friends and partners with Gail Rhodes of the Lost Rose Mine fame, him and I went around and we documented all these symbols. And back in those days, we didn't have GPSs. So we used compass and a map, and we'd mark them, and we documented many of these symbols. What was really sad is when they were published, people started cutting them out. Taking them home. But anyway.
Oh, they were cutting out in the trees.
Unfortunately.
And we have had this conversation in the past to where people are finding them in the trees and then they're cutting them down. That's a big no-no, guys. Once you do that, remember, you get rid of all the evidence and you mess up the clues. But anyways.
You destroy history. But anyway, so I started. That's how I got started. And just kept it going forward and forward. And then I made a turn from Spanish treasure and stuff a little bit when I found hieroglyphs and petroglyphs on rock, and I interpreted them loosely as Spanish.
That's a good way to put it.
And after I'd learned more, those Spanish symbols turned out to be, well, they were Spanish, but they were Iberian. They were ancient symbols.
Wow.
And so I drifted into ancient America. And I started looking at other people's ideas of what petroglyphs meant, Spanish symbols, or whatever you want to call them meant. I started contacting the right people, epigraphers, different people, and I finally come to the conclusion there was a lot more about ancient America than Indian and Spanish and whatever else. And I started to find out that not only did the Spanish incorporate their symbologies with the Indian petroglyphs, but also in some of those petroglyphs there was a strong presence of Hebrew, Latin, and others. We even started finding Libyan, Phoenician, and different nationalities that came in, and either they did or somebody with the knowledge of that language and symbols started putting them on rocks and walls and different things. And then I learned, I was taught by my older brother, who was an expert in mushrooms, flora and fauna, and he wrote the book on lichenometry. And I was taught by him about lichen growth on the 4 different lichens that we have in Utah. And I studied that extensively. I went out and made lichen tests. I've done acid tests. I've learned how to identify lichen, the growth patterns. And so
that way you can get a date, and the lichen's a way for you or for anybody else to get a date on man-made structures or whatever it is.
That's right. I also learned, and I was guilty about chalking glyphs. You don't chalk glyphs, and I'll tell you why. Because in our area, we have a lot of mica schist and other types of schist in rocks. And when somebody goes in and carves a petroglyph, what it does is it excites those crystals, and they come out jagged. You know. Now, that's one way we can tell the age of a glyph is by the size and shape of these crystals that are in the cut. And by using a microscopic camera, you get right in and take a photo, and then look at that photo and tell what happened to those crystals. Now, because we live in a freeze-thaw area, they have a tendency to round off with age.
I've seen that. I for sure.
And if you take a picture and it's just smooth, natural, freeze-thaw, then you can tell pretty much how old you are. From 200 years on back. And but if you go in with a chunk of chalk and you chalk that, all that evidence, all that information disappears. Now, if you want to enhance a petroglyph, take a picture of it, use distilled water. Now, if you use just tap water, you add mineral to that petroglyph.
Oh, gotcha.
And you'll distort the age.
So it has to be what kind of water again?
Distilled.
Distilled water.
You can take a little, just some distilled water in a spray bottle and just spray it, and then take a photo.
Well, it enhances the glyph or whatever, correct? And then you can take a picture, it'll stick out on the photo.
Right. And with pictographs, you don't touch them. Because that paint is fragile. Now, we can identify the age of that pictograph by the paint. And we can tell you by, there's a test you have to do in order to tell the age of that symbol. And believe it or not, the Spanish sometimes use those, the same means and methods. So I graduated, let's say, from a cannon in White Rocks to this other realm. But in the meantime, I haven't forgotten about all the rest of it.
No, and in fact, we've talked about it before. You keep all your information. It doesn't matter if you're actively working on that site or not. I mean, you have kept your life's information, if that makes sense, right?
I've kept journals for many, many, many years.
Wow.
And I'm a writer that writes. You know, and everything we do, like this weekend or next weekend or whatever, is going in those journals. And so I can go back in those journals, 30 years and say, okay, let's see what happened on this day. And it's all there. And so it's important that you do that. And if you go visit a petroglyph or any type of a symbol, and you look at it and photograph it, write down the date, time, all that information, because it's very important, because you can go back another time, a different date, different season, and things change. Because a lot of those old people use shadow markers. And so a lot of people kind of say, oh yeah, right. Well, they did. And I've used them. Especially the old Spaniards. Now when the Mexicans come up, after the big boys, they had that knowledge too. And so they would use the same thing later on. So you got to be careful to know whether it was the Spanish from Spain or the Mexican people from just Mexico and down there.
So there's definitely a difference between
There's a slight difference. And it's also with monuments, the rock cairns. The Mexicans built their monuments more like a pyramid shape.
So there's wider on the bottom and it's going to come up to the top.
And the Spanish would build them straight tall.
And those are just the column looking ones.
And the ancient people were all different, totally different. They usually made window monuments a lot. But those monuments don't fall down. A cow can go rub on them. They ain't gonna, they'll knock the cow over before they fall over. But what's important about these monuments, why I brought it up, because that's one of the aids that you need in searching. Every single monument, whether it's telling you where water is or grass is or where there's some beef jerky hidden or if there's a cache, will be marked that directional on, a lot of times, on that monument.
So those, when you see a monument like that, those, what you're trying to say is they're really important. Either it's a window one and you can look in it, or there can be some kind of direction indicator on there. And some of them are pretty subtle. Sometimes the information is built within the rock structure itself. And so when you go to one, you can't just say, oh, there's a monument. There is a message. And you can't just run up, take a picture, and run away. You got to spend some time there. Because they didn't put that monument up there just for fun of it. There's a lot of hard work. Now you can tell the difference between a stack of stones from a prospector or a BLM guy marking a corner monument, corner spot. A lot of these monuments, or cairns, as a lot of people try to call them. A lot of people say, oh, they're just sheep herders monuments. Well, sheep herders didn't build monuments like that. In fact, they were too busy herding sheep. That makes more sense. What would they use them for?
And there's been cases where there's been one guy by the name of Larson down in Fish Lake area did build some strange looking rock formations. But he copied them after some that were already built by Aurora, Utah. But people still think that they're just sheep herder monuments. They'll knock them down. They don't understand. But when you see one, you got to get out, You got to take your time. You got to look for compass directionals, and remember, a lot of the older ones would go off the magnetic north. But the ancient people used true north.
Wow.
There's a difference.
There is a difference.
And so you gotta understand that. And it just takes a lot of hard work, a lot of study, a lot of time, diagrams, maps, layouts, and then you can get to be pretty proficient at monuments.
Well, you know, now that you're mentioning the whole monuments thing, Steve, there are a few that came to my mind that I found in the last couple of years that I have been trying to unlock the mystery, I guess you can say. And after what you're saying, go back and study them and spend time on them. I think I'm personally going to go back to those exact sites and do the same thing. I think I'm just going to pack a lunch or whatever it is, you know, just sit there and study it. And you're right, pictures don't work. You can take pictures. Pictures are great for documentary, but when it comes to this kind of stuff, it's not like you can just go snap, 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 go home and look at them and go, oh, here's a clue, or this is what it means.
That's a good point. That's a good point. You know, you're right. I mean, taking one photograph won't get it.
No, it won't work. Right. Well, guys, and Steve, this was really fun to have you here. As you guys can see, he's very knowledgeable. Steve, you're very knowledgeable. You don't have to take my word for it. I'm telling you, you can buy this book here. You can buy any one of his books on the shelf to get more about who Steve is and about more of your information. It will definitely be worth the money that you spend and the time that you spend reading this, I guarantee you. Steve, thank you very much for being with us. I appreciate it.
You bet.
And then, hey, stay in touch. You know, let's go out and let's go find something, shouldn't we?
Yeah, we will.
Okay, sounds good.